Soulless Dead Brotherhood Chapter 12. Search and Maybe a Rescue. I woke up that morning taking a deep breath. I had a nightmare last night, and they were out to get me. And it wasn't the dead. I don't know what it was. It was these shadowy figures. Some of them groaned and some of them spoke. I don't really know what it means, but my heart was racing the whole night. I got up, rubbed the sleep out of my eyes, and looked out the window and saw the bright Midwestern sun shining right down on me. I walked over to the basin of water in my room, and there was a little stick of deodorant and some toothpaste, and a small little towel folded up. I read a little note that was left there, and it was from Jake and Logan. They scrounged out some stuff for me, and they just wanted to make sure that I had what I needed. That was pretty nice, I thought. It's good to see that somebody's looking out for me. I washed my face, got cleaned up, put on some deodorant, for once didn't smell like an armpit, made my way out to the porch. Jake met me out there and he said he had to go do some stuff for his dad, and grabbed a little wagon and walked his way down the street. I sat there and I looked at the little rock bed. There was a dead rose bush, and I figured I could take a couple of the rocks and mess around with them since I was really bored. I skipped them across the tar of the street and hit the other embankment, trying to nail leaves and bottles that were sitting there. I looked out and I could see 3 shock groups of troops just walking up and down, small people just doing their thing. Little kids pulling wagons of supplies with their mothers holding their hand, trying to be big help. The town seemed pretty proactive, and I could even see some of the groups being trained. Young men holding spears out in the middle of a field, learning how to fight. Some had shields, some had little hatchets. I guess it looked just kind of like basic training for the army. Men were barking orders, and the men would strike. Hyah! Strike two. Hyah! And so on and so forth. I watched in awe. I was pretty surprised that they were getting this organized. A man dressed up kind of like a mailman walked up. "Is Dr. Whitman here?" I said, yeah, sure, he's inside. I think he's still asleep." He said, "Well, can you take this? Or do you want me to take this to him? It's urgent. It's a letter. He's requested at a meeting today." And I was like, oh, okay. So I got up and I took him inside the house. I walked up to the room my parents were staying in and I knocked. They opened the door. My dad was standing there, hair mess, sleep still in his eyes, barely open. He was in a pair of blue boxers and a messy white t-shirt. "Hey, what's going on, son?" he said. There's a guy with a letter." The mailman walked forward, my dad's eyes slightly opened wider. Sorry, I'm not exactly in better shape." "It's fine," the mailman said. You're requested at a meeting today, meeting number 3. Now, that's going to be at about 12 o'clock, so I suggest you get ready. The second meeting's almost done, so please, sir, you are requested there." My dad had a bit of a look of urgency in his eyes. He definitely wanted to make a first impression with these people, a good one. He definitely didn't want to be kicked out, since I could tell he enjoyed the bed. He walked over to my mother, who was still deep in the blankets and pillows, and shook her foot trying to wake her up. Her head jerked forward out of the pillows. She gasped. My dad's like, "Calm down, it's fine. We just gotta go to a meeting or something." "Oh, okay," my mom said. They got up and they got dressed and they got ready. I sat back out on the porch waiting for them. It was surprising. My parents got ready within a few minutes, which was a record in our household. My mom usually took an hour, but she prettied up and cleaned up nice in under about 20 minutes. My dad came out smelling like cologne, wearing a nice button-up shirt, a pair of nice khakis, and my mother in a sensible summer dress. We walked our way down like we were getting ready for our first Sunday of spring. I looked ridiculous. They had me all dressed up, my hair clean, and it was silly, to say the least. We were met at the small church building with a couple of our other friends. They were all cleaned up and in different clothes as well. As other people filed out, they were saying hello, and they were giving us pleasantries, and the older folks in the town were fairly pleasant. They were nice, and they told me that I looked handsome and, all that jazz, all the stuff you'd expect. We made our way in and sat in some of the pews. We sat there wondering what was going on. One of the older men stood up and he had a stack of papers. A few of the people looked around at us, wondering who we were. They opened with a word of prayer and we all sat back down. To be honest, I didn't really grow up in the church, so I wasn't really sure what the etiquette was for it, but I just kind of slowly followed the lead. The elder began speaking and introducing himself. "Hi, my name is Phil, and I want to welcome you guys to the third meeting of the day. Now, on to new business. The fight yesterday was bloody. I think we all know here what happened. And what happened was unfortunate. It was a crying damn shame. The problem is that we may have problems in the future." A few people gasped. Some women fanning themselves and other people getting upset. Mumbling and grumbling started to happen, but the man raised his hand saying, Now, calm down. Our security has gotten tighter, and we are making our training for our new recruits a little more rigorous. We're going to teach them how to defend walls a little more efficiently. We've got a few of our enlisted ex-NCOs and ex-military training them the best they can. We are also making progress on a few other things. And he began to ramble on about agriculture and food storage and all other things of etiquette and how to walk outside at night, just a bunch of other things. One of the other men stood up. He walked forward. As new acting defense leader, I want to introduce myself. My name is Jared, and I want to tell you guys that everything is going to be okay. Yesterday was bad. We lost about 60 or 70 people. It was not beautiful. We expended a lot of rounds, and we had to use extreme force. It was not something we were looking forward to. But it had to happen. What those people did was wrong. We found out some very, very disturbing things. People asked, like what? The people were flabbergasted. Like, what could be so bad as just murderers stealing stuff? The man began to explain the brutal nature of these people, the sex trade and the slavery and just all the nasty, horrible things these people were doing. My God, for a minute there, I thought we were fighting the Nazi Germans or something. At the end of it, you could hear a pin drop. My mother had her hands over her mouth. She couldn't believe that somebody could do that. My dad kept his hands at his legs with his fists tightly gripped. The man assured us that we would be fine if we continued to do tight safety. But if we don't continue to do tight security, then we will all perish. We have to work together. Everybody pretty much agreed. I was a little scared. Now moving on to the final part. Mr. Hill. An old man walked up. Gray hair, small beard. He looked around and he seemed stressed. Eyes red, possibly from tears or just from a long night. He took a deep breath and said, "My son." At that exact moment, I felt bad for the guy. Must have been his father, clearly. He paused for a long moment. "My son, he tried to defend this town. I'm Tom, for those of you who do not know, and I do want to welcome you to this town. Don't let the actions of that young man sway you. This is a safe, good place with good people that work hard. I will say this, he should not have been entrusted with the security of this town. And I can't imagine what he saw over there. I can't imagine what any young man that did return, some of which are in this audience, have gone through. This is a brutal, dark, and sin-filled world. But this is the world we have to cope with. This is the world we have to suffer through. And we need to stay strong. I'll be pleased to announce that we have had security teams looking for him. In the close areas, the abandoned areas, and the abandoned suburbs just outside of town. They've come up with nothing, and I want to reassure you that he would never hurt his own." One of the men scoffed. "Well, what about the pilot he held at gunpoint?" He paused again, looking down at his hands on the podium. I could tell that what that guy said wasn't even necessary. My dad stood up. Can't you see that the man is hurting already? Who the hell are you? The guy said. My dad paused and said, It doesn't matter who I am. It takes bravery for that man to come up here and say this. Do you think he wanted this for his son? Do you think he wanted this for anybody in here? Do you think any parent would want this? Man gritted his teeth. Who the hell do you think you are? I know who you are. You're the new guy that came over here on the damn train. Why don't you sit your ass down and go do something else? My dad took a deep breath, and the man on the podium said, Enough. Enough, everybody. This is senseless. There's no reason. I understand your fears, sir. And for you, thank you. But I don't need you to stand up for me. I thought that was pretty noble of him. The pressure that guy must have been under was enormous. My son has made his decisions. And he may have to sleep in the bed that he's made. We do want him to come home. And if he does turn himself in, I'd be proud of him. A few people began to grumble. My dad sat back down and took a few deep breaths. My mother told him, You did good, honey. It's okay. I didn't know what to expect. Finally, one of the men came up. Thank you, Brother Tom, for those words. I can't imagine. He patted him on the back, gave him a hug, and sent him on his way. He made his way back to his seat, and a few people were staring at him, giving him the thousand-eye stare. I wouldn't want to be that dude. The man came up and said, As of last night, a few of the adults got together, and we'd like to propose a new idea. We are going to have a new school set up for young people, starting tomorrow. We're going to teach the young people, new and old, from ages 6 all the way to 18, on how to do basic survival, how to start a fire, and all sorts of things like that. A few of the parents objected. Now let me finish. The man said, We want to make sure our kids, in the event of something horrible happening, and them being alone, we want to make sure that they are self-sufficient, and they might be able to help us out around town. They're not going on those damn walls, one of the men said. The man reassured him, no, they're not going to be combatants. They're just going to learn how to take care of themselves in the event of a dangerous situation. A few nervous parents expressed their concerns, but the man again reassured them, we're not wanting this to happen, but it's better for them to know how to start a fire at least. Wouldn't you agree? You never know what's around the corner, so we want to be sure that they're all safe. After some serious convincing and a lot of talking back and forth, everybody was at a consensus. A vote was taken and papers were passed. My dad asked me what I thought about it. I said it couldn't hurt. He voted yes, of course, and after much counting, the vote passed. Very few people actually disagreed with it, but there was a rule of law, and so I was due to go to school tomorrow. There was a small high school just outside of town that was a short drive on a bus. It was beyond the walls, but they said the high school was very protected and it was turned into essentially a fortress, a backup place. Our parents were reassured that we'd get there safe, since the road was mostly off the beaten path. After the meeting, we filed out, and the next people coming in came in. We said our hellos, and everyone did their friendly goodbyes and hellos and whatnot. I made my way outside, and my friends were standing there. There were 2 new people. Well, who are these guys? Oh, there are some friends of ours, Jake said. We've known them for quite a while. Can you keep a secret? One of them said. Well, I guess so. Well, what is it? Come with us. We're going to need a couple extra pair of hands. We all got on some bicycles and we made our way towards one of the walls, behind a few trees and shrubs. The wall was a long corrugated steel setup with steel beams and wood beams holding it up. I don't even know who these guys are, I asked. Who the hell are you guys? My name is Blake, and this is my friend Derek. Okay, hi, Blake and Derek. What's this all about? Why are we over here? What if the guards see us? I don't want to get kicked out here before I before I get settled in. Jake and Logan settled me down. Dawson said, "We're worried about Jesse." There, I said it. "Thanks, Dawson," they said. "Thanks for ruining it." Blake sat us all down. "Look, we're gonna go after him. We have a general idea where he went. We were with him during that battle. Well, not me. Derek was, but I was in the back. I was working a rifle, so I wasn't exactly there." Derek stood forward and drew a little map of the wall where we were at. "What we're gonna do is we're gonna go over the wall. We're gonna have this flashlight, and I want you guys to come here at 10 o'clock every single night. That gives you 30 minutes before curfew. If we shine this light, I want you guys to lift this piece of steel off. We're going to loosen the bolts and we're going to tighten them down with hand screws. That way we can get in and out." Isn't this pretty much illegal?" Logan said. "I mean, if we get caught, our asses are grass." "Calm down," Blake said. It won't come to that." Derek said, "If we flash the light, we need you guys to undo this quick. If there's any dead, just give it a minute. We'll take care of them. We're leaving tonight." They went over to a small pile of leaves and dug underneath it, grabbing a tarp and flipping it all out. They had 2 travel bags full of food and supplies and some water. "We're escaping tonight. We're going to go find him." "How long do you think it's going to take?" Jake asked. "I don't know. But we don't think that he deserved to be locked up like that. He's not a convict." Blake gritted his teeth. "I don't agree with what he did." Derek disagreed. "Frankly, I do. Those monsters deserve to die, and to be perfectly clear..." Guys, Logan interrupted. "Can we get to the facts here? What's going to happen if you guys get caught?" "We won't. We're going to leave today. There's a small hole in the security. We're leaving in about 10 minutes. We looked out a crack in the wall and we could see a small troop of people walking by as we got quiet. They were talking and smoking cigarettes and having a shooting the bull. They walked off, and we said our goodbyes." Blake looked at me. "New kid, don't screw this up for us." Logan said, "Don't worry, he's cool. He won't say anything, will you?" They all looked at me. I didn't know whether or not to say something. I didn't know whether or not just to take off and go talk to one of the guards. Was this such a good idea? I mean, Wichita's no New York, but still, there's got to be ghettos and dangerous people, and judging by what they were talking about with a war and what they explained, it can't be safe out there. But another part of me is like, I'm finally fitting in. I don't want to be a snitch. Dawson said, "Look, man, I understand that you're a little worried about this. I was too when I was first told about it. We're close, man. We all are. We've known him. If you're a friend, you would understand. We're concerned about him. And these two know him. They worked with him in the fight. They trained with him. They're our best chance to get him back safely without getting shot or killed by the rest of those brutes out there." He looked down and looked over at the fence, put his hand on it. "I heard some of the guys talking, and if they see him, they might kill him." Blake dusted off his knees as he stood up and said, "Well, we're going to make sure that's not going to happen. So help me God." After a little bit of doing, we got the fence open and we said our goodbyes. "Remember the flashlight," Blake said. "If you see it, let us in, please." Of course, Logan said. "We're counting on you guys. Don't screw us over." "How long do you think it'll take?" Jake said. Again, I don't know. 1 day, 2 days, a month. A month? Do you have the supplies for that? We'll figure it out, guys. Come on. The guards might be coming soon. Blake said frantically. We closed it up and we made a pact that we'd never tell anybody. Later that night, we all met at Dawson and Logan's house. Their families were staying together too. We all sat down and we all shot the bull. We all told funny stories and jokes and we had a good time. "I really hope they find him," Logan said as he looked down. I'm worried about him. I mean, if you ever get to know somebody, you always worry about them. I didn't know really what to do, so I put my hand on his shoulder and told him everything was going to be fine. To be honest, I just lied to him. But who knows? The night's not over yet.